everybody, this is Matthew with Marble Gems, bringing you another marble video. Anyways, I got a marble, a 2-inch marble here from a fellow that, it's an old German handmade glass onion skin. It's a big marble, it's a 2-inch marble, and he's had it for quite a few years, and he asked me if I could take a look at it, see if I could get it polished up. Let me show you where I'm at and what I'm going to do. So this is the 3-cup polisher, and this is the big 2-inch marble that's in it. What I have is I have little cups, and you can go back and look at these videos. These are little cups made with a 1/2-inch pipe fitting that I've epoxied some of this diamond polishing pad grits into the plastic cup here. I modified the cup so it's a little bit shorter because it doesn't need to be full length, and you can see how I made those in my last video. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to be working through about 4 or 6 different grits. I'm starting off with 100, and that is to get all of the rough stuff out of it. And it makes pretty deep cuts in there. You can hear that, and it's cutting it pretty fast. And then I'll go to a 400 grit, and I've made one of those. I've got to make some more cups, but eventually I'll get up to a 6,000 grit polishing pad. I even have an 8,000 if I need to make another set of cups if I'm not really satisfied with 8,000. But let's get started on this. I'm going to grind away at this until I get all of these little chips out of there. And then it also has one, let's see if I can turn it, has one big chip right there in there. And I figure I'm going to have to grind probably a 1/16 of an inch on the surface all the way, or about an 1/8 of an inch on the total diameter to get that out of there. And I'm not sure how fast this is grinding away at it, but it could take an hour or more. So let's get it started. I've got a little chain here that picks up water and distributes water on there. It works really good. I don't have to put a drip system on there. I like that. For smaller marbles where the cups are really close together, I may have to use something other than a little chain. Anyways, you can see how well it's working. It's doing a good job, so we're going to let that work on there for about 30 minutes and see where it ends up. We'll be back. Okay, so this was in there for probably about 30 minutes, but one of the things that I'm seeing I need to fix is that my cups are just a little bit smaller than they should be, which means they're not spanning the circumference as much as I want them to. So what's happening is that really flat, that bad crack there is grinding out nicely, but it's not grinding out evenly. So I'm going to take this to my my grinder, my lapidary grinder, and make sure that we're getting it ground evenly. And then I'm going to have to make some bigger cups. But we just need to make sure that we're making it nice and round, and it's got a little bit of a flat spot there where that big dent was in there. But other than that, it's grinding it out really nicely. We just about got all of the chips out of there. There'll be some that need to come out, like that big one there. All right, looking good. Okay, so I went into my rock shop and I took out kind of an oblong or a high spot in here. It was just enough that it was making it difficult to polish with these smaller cups. I've got some bigger cups I'm going to make into a grinding cup, and that should cover more surface area, which means that it'll tend to span the low spots. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a low spot here, and what will happen is as it grinds, it will grind the high spots off until the high spots get lower. Whereas with a small cup, like one of these, this is a little bit smaller, it may not span those low spots as easily, and it'll polish right there. But one thing I'm going to try, I'm going to go ahead and put it back in here because I want to see if it's going to spin in every direction. Because one of the problems that it may have been is I didn't measure every spot on here to make sure that this was fairly round to begin with. And if it wasn't round to begin with, it would have had a hard time grinding it perfectly round anyways. So I'm gonna put it back in there and give it a shot and see if it was going to spin in every direction. So what I notice now is the marble is spinning in many different directions. So that's better. That means that it was pretty oblong to begin with. I just had to take off some of those high spots. I'm only going to let this go for a little bit, but I'm going to go ahead and make some cups that are bigger that will cover more area of the ball. Okay, I've got my new big cups on there, so they're working very nicely. I'm going to run this for about 15 minutes, and this is marble. This is the 100 grit cup, and see if we can get the last of the chips out of this. Okay, so this is going a lot faster than I anticipated. I ran in there about 5 more minutes, and we just about got that main big chip out of there. There's another little chip right there that came out. I just sort of have to pick what I want to take out right now. I'm going to run it for a little bit longer. This is getting quite big and there's some bubbles starting to show through, so I'm going to take it a little bit farther and then I'm going to stop. Okay, let's take a look here. Okay, I'm going to stop there. There's a few little flaws in there, but for the most part, I've got all of the cracks and stuff out of there. So the next grid I'm going to go to is 400. And just for a comparison, we've ground off probably 1/10 of an inch. It started out at 2 inches and now it's at 1.88. So there's a few little flaws here, like there and there and one there, but I just don't want to go any deeper because I'm starting to get into bubbles here. And it'll still be really beautiful. It's an antique, and so it's going to have some of those antique marks in there. We can't get them all out without taking just way too much off. So let's put on some new cups. And I've got some 400 grit cups that we're going to put on there and work it with that. So changing the cups on this is really easy. You just got to hold this and screw these off. And screw the new one on. Super simple. So these are brand new cups, and they're kind of jumping around a little bit because they're brand new. But with the rough surface there, they'll wear right in. We're going to let that run for about 5 minutes, and then we'll check to see how we're doing on getting all of the big 100 grit scratches out. Okay, I can already see that it's getting much shinier because when it's wet it doesn't have that opaque look. Let's take and dry a little bit off here. It's looking really nice. I'm going to let it run a little bit longer. Make sure I have all those really deep scratches out. And then we'll run a grit on there. Let's take a look at it. I'll dry it off here so you can see. We got all those 100 grit scratches out, and it's starting to polish up pretty nicely. Let me show you what it looks like when I wet it down. So that's what it's starting to look like when it's wetted down. It'll have a few little flaws in it, but it's, like I said, it's an antique. It could be 100 years old. But it's going to look very, very nice, much better than it did before. Okay, we're going to get some 800 grit cups on there, and we'll work on those. Okay, we have the 800 grit cups in now this morning, and I wanted to show you something. I got to clean out my little water cup here, and I wanted to show you just how much material we removed. This was all cleaned out here, but this is all the glass slurry that we removed, and from that big marble. Okay, I'm going to use a little bit of, this is 600 grit silicon carbide, carborundum. I'm going to use to break in these brand new 800 grit cups. I really want to break in those cups nicely. We'll let it run for 5 or 10 minutes and then change it to the 1500 grit. And then we have a 3000 and then an 8000 final polish. Okay, you can see we've built up a nice slurry on there. These cups are broken in pretty well. I'm going to put the water back on there so that it can have plenty of lubrication. And you can see how it just, that little chain just brings up plenty of water. We'll let that run for a little bit longer, and then we'll change the cups to the 800 grit. Okay, let's take a look at this and see how it's doing. On this is the 800 grit. You know, and my motors are running pretty cool. They're a little bit warm, but not too bad. I can see some scratches, some deep scratches in there that I want to keep going on, because those aren't 800 grit scratches like the 400 grit. So I'm going to let that run a little bit longer and see if we can get those out. Okay, well, let's check this to see how it's doing now, and see if we've got all those scratches out. If we do, we'll change the cups. Oh yeah, it's looking really good. We're going to go ahead and change to the 1500 grit cups. it's starting to look really shiny. See how it looks when it's dried off. Oh yeah, that's starting to look beautiful. Boy, just with that 1500 grit, it's looking really nice. I can see that we got all the big scratches out of it. So we're ready to go to the next one. We'll go to the 3000. Let's see how these do. These are brand new cups again. Right, these are a little bit bigger and they run really nicely. So let's let those run for about 5 minutes. We'll come back and check it. Okay, time to change to the last one, 8000. Okay, let's see if we can get it a little bit shinier. That's actually dried off. It looks like it's wet. But with this 8000, it'll just really pop. Okay, there we go. Okay, we'll let that run for 5 or 10 minutes. And we'll come back. Alright, I think it's finished. Let's take a look at it. It sure looks shiny. Okay, here's the finished marble. I'm going to dry it off so it's not wet, so you can see just how shiny and nice that 8000 grit got it. So that is a gorgeous marble. Now, one of the things I mentioned before is there was little flaws in it that I didn't want to completely grind out, and the reason why is because it would have just had to take off too much material. So it's got some little flaws still in it, little dimples in it, a little moon right there that was a really deep moon from the surface, but we got the big fracture out of it, the big chip out of it, and 95% of all of the cracks and chips and stuff out of it. But the ones that are left, you really can't tell too much. There's one there, there's a deep one there. I just didn't want to grind them out. But you can see all the way through it, through the belly button here, and through the other side. It's got some white in there, but what a beautiful onion skin. By the way, if you're interested in sending me some of your marbles, please send me a private message and we'll negotiate a price for restoring some of your old vintage marbles back to some really beautiful, look like brand new. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you give me a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel by pushing on the button right over there. Thanks and have a great day.